I'm Carla Schaefer, Auntie Bead's designer, and I'm going to go over bead cap basics. I'm just going to go over a few pointers when it comes to using bead caps. I've got 3 different size beads in 2 different shapes and a variety of bead caps that I'm just going to show you what the difference is in between sizes of the bead cap as well as how they're used on the beads. Basically, when I take a question on what size bead cap to use, my question to their answer is always, how much of the bead do you want to cover with the bead cap? In this case, I am using a 3.5 by 6.5 millimeter rope bead cap, and this is a 6 millimeter round. And I'm just going to demonstrate that you can use, this smaller bead cap on a small bead. Then I'm also going to show you what it looks like on a larger bead. And basically, this little bead cap is just covering the ends of this round bead. And then I will show you how it looks when you put a bigger round. I think this is an 8 millimeter. And basically what you're doing is you're covering less of the bead with this bead cap. And this one is really just capping the very ends of it, and you see more of the round in it. And this pretty much works with any shape bead that you use with these. The thing is it doesn't have to be the same size as the bead, and as you can see even on this it shows it covers less of it, but it's just whatever design and effect that you want the bead cap to have on the bead. Okay, this is the same bead cap, but in this case I'm using a 6 millimeter bicone, and when you bring these together you can hardly tell that this is a bicone. It does cover most of the ends, and most of these little cone shaped or bead caps will cover a bicone, a good portion of the bicone body. And then I show you on a larger one, this is an 8 millimeter bicone. Again, it's covering the ends of it, but you're getting less of the coverage. And now you can really tell that it's a bicone. And then on a 10 millimeter, it covers even less. And again, it's just the effect that you want the bead cap to have on your bead. Just to show you the same basic design, this is a sunflower 3x6. Again, I'm just showing it on the round 8 millimeter bead here. Again, this type or this style of bead cap, you're not going to get full coverage around the bead. You're just going to get some kind of a coverage on the ends. Another style of bead cap that we have quite a few of, this is actually valley bead cap with circles and dots. This is a 7 millimeter. I'm using a 6 millimeter round bead here, and as you can see, this I like to refer to as like a cup kind of style bead cap, and as you can see it covers up a majority of the body of the bead here. This is a 6 millimeter bead with a 7 millimeter bead cap, so you can kind of gauge by the size of the bead cap to your bead. Again, obviously with that size crystal or bead, it's going to cover a majority of it. And then when you try it with an 8 millimeter crystal, you can see that it caps the edges of it, but it doesn't cover as much of the body of the bead. And with the bicone, you can use this style on a bicone bead, and it just changes the look of it completely. So just an idea of how you can use some of these rounder bead caps on rounds and bead caps in conjunction to the sizes of the bead. Okay, now this is an 8 millimeter bead cap, and I wanted to show you what happens when you use something 8 millimeter with a 6 millimeter bead. You really lose the bead altogether. So this might help you kind of decide whether or not an 8 millimeter works on a 6 millimeter or not. And if that's the effect or the look you want, then great, but it's probably something that I wouldn't do. But using this 8 millimeter on a 10 millimeter bead, again, changes the effect. And you can just kind of get a basic idea when you're looking online trying to figure out what you want to use. This is one that, this little bead cap here is really actually very versatile to me. And this is what we call a 10 millimeter valley bead cap flower. And what I like about it is that, and I use it like with pendants or things like this, as you can see how it doesn't really conform to the bicone, but the great thing about this one is that if you gently mash down on this bead cap, you can bring it down around the bead that you're using. I like to use it at the top of a pendant be it a flat pendant or an oval, and then I can just mash the petals down around it and see how that has really conformed to the bicone. And that does make a really nice cap for a pendant, especially if you're wire wrapping a loop at the top. So it just adds a little interest. This is an 11 millimeter bead cap, and it's pretty deep cup, almost a wide cone. And I want to show you what this looks like in a bicone. With a large bicone, this is a 10 millimeter bicone, and it completely covers the top of this bicone. And you don't have to use 2 bead caps per bead. You may only use 1 on the top or the bottom. I have a bracelet online that I've done where I just used 1, and we'll put it on the sidebar of this video. But this, as you can see, it just completely covers the top half of this bead, and this is the bicone, and it will have this pretty much the same effect on this 10 millimeter round. So just wanted to give you an idea of how the sizes work, and how this one really covers the majority of the bead. And if you wanted to put the second one on here, you're almost encasing the bead with the bead caps, which has a really neat effect too. One more example that I was just going to show you. This is a 10 millimeter. This is our Spider Valley bead cap, and using it on an 8 millimeter bead, just as we did with the 11 millimeter on a 10 millimeter bead, this one again almost encases the whole crystal or a bead within the bead caps. And I just wanted to show you this example too. I just really scratched the surface on our bead caps, but I kind of hope that this gave you an idea of how to use them.